That's excellent. So it's you've been at it for about 20 plus years now, right? And technology has
20,
evolved.
25, yeah.
Yeah, technology has evolved. There's a lot that has evolved since then. So I'm curious how you sort of have gone and taken your company through those transitions from where we were with the dial-up back then to where we are now.
Yeah, so it's interesting if you have the privilege to run a company for so long, and I've been 20 years running a public company. Change is inevitable. Change happens every day, every hour in our lives. But what happens is that you'll find, at least I found in business, every 5 years, you're faced with some crossroad, and you either decide to move forward or stand still. And so there were a number of crossroads that happened along the way. One of the biggest ones that just happened over like 7 years ago was that I realized that web chat was never going to get me to the vision of commerce being powered by digital conversations. And what I found, even our best customer, about 10% of the volume of conversations were chat, and then 90% was still on voice calls. And I realized, like, I'm wasting my time. I'm never going to get there, And so what happened at the same time was that we started to use messaging, SMS, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp. All these messenger platforms are taking off, and I realized, hey, consumer behavior is moving towards asynchronous messaging, mobile messaging. Why don't we build, a platform to connect to those messaging front ends, and then let's see what happens if we're aligned to consumer behavior? Because about 80% of the time we're using our mobile device for messaging. That's our most number one app on our devices. Mm-hmm. So I realized, let's try to build a platform. We launched that platform 4 years ago. It was called LiveEngage. Let's call LiveEngage.
Now, moving forward, how are you helping to transform online and in-store experiences for major retailers?
Before I go there, I guess I'll say that the name of the company is LivePerson. This is an AI show, so there's got to be some connection to that. I did 24 months ago, about 2 years ago, I realized if you're going to scale conversations, you've got to have automation running, and you've got to use AI and machine learning. We have over 1 billion conversations in storage from some of the largest brands in the world, banks, telcos, retailers. And because of that data set, we're able to then use machine learning and AI to build conversations that can automate, that are what we call obviously bots. I hate that word, but they're bot-driven conversations. So today, about 80% of our conversations, which is now close to 70, 80 million a month on our platform globally, have some sort of form of automation in them. So automation plays a big part into conversational commerce. And then when we look at conversational commerce now, retail is very big because it's been dislocated. And so we're doing things right now. For instance, one of the largest home improvement companies in the United States, retailers, we're doing virtualization of the sales force inside the store. So when you walk in, there's a store in New York, we're doing a test in, all the products have QR codes next to them. And you take out your phone and hit a QR code, and you're conversing with an automation, with a bot, talking about grills. There's a bot called Grill Master, and you're talking to the grill. So it's solving a big problem because social distancing is very hard to do in stores, especially with sales associates. But now you can walk in and you can just go about looking at a product and then asking questions to an automation. So I think the retail area, although banks and telco has always been very big for us, insurance is big. The retail area now, because it's been totally turned upside down, is becoming a big part of the conversational commerce experience.
Now that we're talking about AI, can you talk to us about how you're leveraging AI in the conversations your brands and customers are having with each other?
Yeah, so we have this platform, another platform called the Conversational Cloud. And what we realized early on is that AI has been in the hands of technologists, data scientists, engineers. But if you're talking about conversational experiences between a consumer and its brand, the people who have those conversations right now are contact center agents. Those are the people every day that are having millions and millions of conversations with people. So we said, we want to build a tool set that enables those people to be empowered to develop the automations, deploy the automations, own the automations. And then they'll actually upskill themselves from contact center agents, which is a very low paying job, to conversational designers, bot managers. And so we took the approach of building our platform to have kind of a secret weapon, which is take the people who are having those conversations, get them involved in AI, and you'll scale AI at a very high rate. So that's how we kind of do it. We call it the tango, human machine working together.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in which customer categories are you seeing the most traction with AI right now, and why do you think that is? And do you think this traction will really keep going and expand even post the pandemic?
Yeah, we went up 40% between March and April in traffic volume. So what happened was the contact centers got shut down because of social distancing. And unfortunately, a lot of the agents, and it was about 50%, now it's about 30 to 40%, never made it back online, because if they're in India or the Philippines, a lot of times they don't have connectivity in their homes to be able to take a phone call and then, get to a back-end system. I've always wanted to get rid of phone calls. I don't believe phone calls are, the way to be doing customer conversations in 2020. So I was fine with it all going away. So what happened was there was a mad rush to fill in the lack of the agents taking conversations with automations. So we saw this massive rush, which is continuing today. And the contact center has been broken. It's been shattered. It's about 15 million people around the world were in these physical locations sitting 2 feet away from each other. And it's a factory. It's a terrible environment, by the way. Even the best are factories. People there with headsets, and they get fed a widget of a human conversation, a customer coming in off of an IVR, this technology that says press 1, press 2, and get lost. And when you press 1, you get routed, and then they have someone show up screaming at them, and they're all sitting next to each other. Well, that's gone. Now they're in their homes. So now they're in their homes with their kids doing stuff, and they're taking phone calls, which is about as pleasant as I don't know, kind of an examination, but it's just not a pleasant experience. Although everyone's trying to make it out like it's wonderful, it's not. So the best thing we can do is get these people to move forward. They're not going back to contact centers, to move forward and be part of the experience of creating conversations. So banks and telcos, we saw a massive volume. We're seeing massive volume insurance, travel. We have like Delta Airlines, and we have like 7 or 8 big airlines. Massive spikes at the beginning, kind of, people were canceling.
Yeah.
Then it came down. Now they're going back. People are starting to travel again. So it's not going to go back, because what we're seeing now is consumer behavior change. They're using this stuff and they love it, and they know, wow, I don't have to be on hold, so I can get to an automation and I can get things done immediately. I love this. So I think this is here to stay. And our growth, you can see we grew our revenues 29% in Q2, which is a massive growth, up from 17% in Q1, because of the amount of volume that we're in demand we're seeing in our business today.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, right? And I can relate to it. I dread dialing and waiting on phone and getting routed between parties, and rather just chat and be done with it. So on you mentioned earnings, right? And as I was going through it, I realized that you had the best quarter in the history of your company, and that's absolutely amazing. Congratulations. Can you highlight what's driving some of that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I've been through 3 major macro events in the history of our country and now the world. One was our country, which was 9/11. So we went public on April 7th of 2000. And then, by 2001, the internet was imploding. And then I was in New York with my team, and then we got hit with 9/11. And we had to manage through that fear. There was a real fear there for your life, obviously, which is very correlated to what happened which is happening now during COVID. The second one, obviously, was the financial crisis. And each time we've done quite well. We survived the .com. We survived what happened during New York. And we just have tended to, during these time, focus, and we look, and I told my team at the beginning, these are always times of opportunity. the dislocation, the macro dislocation, the massive change like that creates opportunities. Or if you look at the wrong way, you think it's going to terribly impact your business. I remember at the beginning, some people were like, oh my God, sales are going to stop. Everything's going to stop. And I said, no, there's going to be a change. And I believe we're in the right side of it. So when the contact centers got shut down, we could see that the change was coming to us. And then we've continued forward. But it's been hard. It's like managing through these things where it's people's lives. And we had an employee die on us. So we had a 23-year-old die right at the beginning of COVID from the disease. And he had no pre-existing conditions. He went to the hospital. 4 days later, he was dead. And I got a call one afternoon about 1 o'clock. They said, we've lost this employee. And it was a real shocker because somebody that young, he was an engineer, data scientist in Seattle. And then I had to talk to his mother and father who were in China. He had no family here. His only family, his mother and father in China. So at about 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning, we dialed him. And we told him that their son had died. And this was the only son of this family. There was a daughter. And to listen, the mother and the father, and we had a translator. And, the mother was just devastated. And I could, you got to be there for people. And I've said during these times, you lead with empathy. During these macro environments, you have to lead with empathy. And so we then, also had to talk to the group that he worked in. And then we had a memorial service. We handled the memorial service for his family and then also his body because they can't get here. So, there was no expectation that we would be managing this. And once again, when I went through the .com implosion, there's a lot that happened back then. And I said, you don't learn this in college. There's no handbook to managing through these crises. You just got to lead with empathy. And if you lead with empathy, you tend to make it through. And then the rest kind of works. Business will follow. But the first thing you have to be is very concerned about your employees, because they are what matters most in these conditions, in these times, and you're responsible for them in many cases. Many parts of the life I have responsibility for. We have responsibility as a company for their safety.